In this video, I'm going to share an extraterrestrial message with you about how to free yourself from the unfolding disaster on this planet. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. This is part 2 of another 2-part series that I started in my last video on Tuesday. In that video, I talked about how to shift your identity away from a belief that you are your physical body and get reoriented experientially into the truth that you are an infinite cosmic creator. And I'll put the link to that video in the description below. Your physical body is meant to be a vehicle that allows you to express and manifest who you are on this planet. So it's important to recognize that who you are is not sourced in the body itself. It is expressed through the body, but it is not sourced in the body. Now, this is an extremely important shift to make. Without us, the body has no power. But most people live as though they are their bodies. This puts us in a very disempowered state and gives the controllers of this planet a huge advantage over us. So in this video, I want to share some messages with you from John of Telstar, who is one of the beings that I channel. These messages came out of a conversation that he and I had. Now, interestingly enough, my personal interactions with Telstar and with Archangel Michael actually do not come through channeling. Channeling is what we do when they want to speak directly to people in their own voice and through their own expression. But when it comes to myself and my interactions with them, we literally just talk to each other. I can see them and hear them clearly, so it's really the same kind of thing as if I were having a conversation with you. I mean, that is not my only way of communicating with them, but for purposes of these messages, that is how I received these messages from John to share with you. So John showed me some amazing things that I want to share with you. And this was basically a continuation of what I shared with you in the last video. It was sort of an expansion of that. He wanted me to emphasize the incredible power that we have when we make that shift of reorienting our sense of self from our physical bodies to our true beingness. Now, we know that the body alone has no power because that is revealed to us every time we watch someone die. When someone dies, we are instantly crystal clear that that body is not who they are. We know it beyond any shadow of a doubt, and it's actually why we seek to dispose of the body in a matter of days. We are instantly unconfused, and we know that the person we loved was not that body. Yet the whole time they were alive, we and they acted as though they were their body. So here's what John shared with me. Something profound happens when a human being shifts their consciousness into identifying with their vehicle for expression rather than identifying with their actual self. He said you will instantly lose an enormous amount of power because you've disconnected from the source of your own power, which is not the body. You then become unconscious to your real self and are thus forced to rely on a struggling physical presence to basically act on its own without the benefit of the real you at the helm. He said that without your full presence in command of your physical body, your body will become highly reactive to outside events and outside forces. This can create confusion, stress, and a lot of fear. Now, he was speaking to me from a very expanded perspective of our larger journey in this universe, and he brought up the subject of our reliance on angels. He said it's currently happening because we need that augmentation to support our own lack of power. Now, he was clear that he was in no way saying that we should not rely on the angels. He was just pointing out that eventually we will evolve out of a need for that kind of outside support once we come back into our full power again. When we are fully evolved out of this situation, we will exist as the full human manifestation of omnipresent love and oneness, and we will by nature exist in a state of oneness with that which creates the entire universe. So here's what I really love about this. Our ability to shift back into our own presence and into who we really are is something the controllers have absolutely no access to and no power to stop. Now, let me just diverge here for a couple of minutes. I want to bring up the subject of what I like to call the thing that shall not be named. You know, the thing that the controllers are currently obsessed with and want to give to all of us. Now, this is actually kind of hilarious. They want our entire lives to be focused on this one thing and on this so-called health issue. Let's take a moment to put all of the usual issues about this thing aside and take a deeper look at this. This is actually what I find so funny because it really shows how stupid they are. The thing that bugs me the most is their absolute obsession with this issue. I mean, they are obsessed. They literally want to build an entire kingdom around this thing. I mean, that's absolutely what they are trying to do. A planetary kingdom built around the thing that shall not be named and that no one is allowed to talk about. So let's think for a moment, what is the underlying message around that issue? The one that we don't really think about too much. The message is this: focus intently on your physical body and be very, very afraid for it. And the funny thing is, this is true for both sides. No matter whether you're for or against this thing, both sides are literally in terror over their own physical bodies. See, there are so many layers to the controllers' nonsense. At a deeper level, what they're really trying to do is to build a planetary kingdom of fear around the human physical body. That is so weird. But see, this is the kind of thing you get from entities who have no power of their own to create. You get absolute ridiculousness. Think of it, a planetary kingdom of fear around the human physical body. I mean, that is just too bizarre. Sometimes I imagine all of us as human beings evolving to a place where we get all of this, completely get it at a cosmic level, not at the stupid earth-based fear level, but really at a powerful cosmic level. And we can just look at these guys like, are you kidding me? I mean, I can't explain it, but there's so much power available to us when we really evolve. So that's why I put such an emphasis on making the effort to evolve yourself, because when you make that effort, you are evolving to a place of power. You're evolving out of weakness, out of fear, into power and confidence. And that's what we can all do right now. But here's a really interesting thing that John shared with me. He wanted me to explain the difference between a real human being and the controllers of this planet. Because it's really important that we understand the difference between them and us. See, right now we have it kind of backwards. We think that the difference is that they have all the power and that we have little or no power of our own. We think we see evidence of that in the lockdowns and in the tremendous abuse that humanity is enduring from them right now. But let's put all of that abuse aside for a moment and see what's actually going on underneath it. Here we are in our natural state, completely connected to Source with unlimited power to create. And here are the controllers, completely disconnected from Source with no power to create. So what the controllers do is they go from planet to planet using the energy of legitimate human beings, wherever they can get away with it, to produce an impossible world that is ultimately unsustainable. The reason it's unsustainable is because it's all based on lies. See, they can never create anything positive or beautiful because they have to rely on their ability to maintain negative control over other entities using lies and manipulation in order to produce anything at all. And let me say something about their tendency toward blood sacrifice and human sacrifice. Here's what John told me about that. He said that their constant need for what he called sexual and blood sacrifice, especially involving children, which we can see historically. I mean, that goes all the way back to the Bible, right? It's in the Bible, child sacrifice. Anyway, he said it's a sign of how absolutely out of their minds and desperate they really are. He said they are in a constant state of survival. The reason they go for children is because that's where they find the human life force to be the strongest. He said, if you want to get a picture of how they really are, it's like someone drowning in the ocean and gasping for whatever bit of air they can find. They are in a constant state of desperation for life force energy, which is the reason they can do so many horrible things and not even give it a single thought. Of course, this is by no means meant to excuse them. It's just to give you a picture of what we're dealing with. We are dealing with entities who have completely imploded in terms of their own original access to source energy. This is what happens when you completely and totally surrender to the I am not, which I talked about in a previous video. Now, let's get back to the planetary kingdom of fear that the controllers are creating around the human body. Our bodies are genetically predisposed to prioritize fear. Fear can be easily induced through perceived danger, and fear causes your mind to be riveted and focused on whatever object that you perceive to be in danger. In this case, it would be our human bodies. See, here's what's so important to understand. The controllers have now very cleverly checkmated us. No matter which side of the thing that shall not be named, no matter which side of that issue you are on, whether you're for it or against it, you are going to find yourself in fear about your human body. That is the absolute definition of checkmate. Whichever direction you move, you lose. Now, I do not believe that the human controllers are aware of this. They are just minions of a bigger intelligence that has this all figured out. See, the human controllers are just like automatons who stream the messages and rules of a higher unseen force of negativity. These people are basically gone. They have no mind of their own anymore. They have lost all ability to reason. They are essentially just empty figureheads whose role it is to cover for the unseen controllers who are extraterrestrial and interdimensional in nature. Their greed and their lust for power is what made them sitting ducks for this takeover of their formerly human consciousness. Now, let's put all of this together in its simplest form. The controllers have done everything in their power to make sure that you identify yourself as your physical body. This is the only way that they can control you using fear. See, fear is actually the only weapon that they have. They have many, many variations of how that weapon manifests, but fear is the energy that powers every single weapon they use. So here's what we need to understand. Our bodies can be easily poked and prodded and manipulated using fear. If we identify ourselves as being our bodies, then we too can be easily manipulated. So let me show you another very simple drawing. So in this simple drawing, our infinite true self is represented in yellow as the being that we truly are. And the body in blue is representative of our physical body that is meant to be the vehicle for the expression of our infinite selves. When we believe that who we are is the physical body, we actually abandon our true self. We remove our consciousness and our presence from the truth of who we really are and shift it to a place that doesn't have any real power of its own, namely the physical body. In that case, without even realizing it, we're actually living a lie. And this then produces a massive level of weakness and a whole lot of confusion. It also removes our attention from our real power, thus making it much more available for the controllers to siphon it off because we're not centered there anymore. So what John wants us to know is this. The best thing we can do for ourselves right now is to make the effort to shift our identity back to the truth of who we really are, instead of having it focused on a false belief that we are our bodies. Now, this is really awesome because while the controllers are busy playing out their stupid dramas all over the planet, we can be doing something truly powerful that they can't control and they can't even see. So if you are in a locked down situation right now, I encourage you to take heart in the fact that you have this amazing thing that you can start working on right now that takes you completely out of the controller's realm and all of their sad, ridiculous theatrics, because it's all some kind of weird, bizarre theater. Now, making this effort is how you get back into the real universe again. The more you shift your experience into knowing and being your true infinite self while you are still alive and not thinking that this is something that happens after you die, because that's not true. The more you do this right now, the better it is for your physical body. See, here's the ironic thing. It actually does your physical body no favors at all for you to believe that you are it. Let me give you a great example. Let's say you find yourself with a physical ailment that needs healing. If you think you are your body, you are now part of the problem because you thus identify yourself as being a person with that ailment. And from that positioning, it's very difficult to find out how you can derive the power to heal yourself. See, in this case, the ailment now becomes a part of your identity because you think you are your body. So some part of your consciousness is going to hold on to that ailment, thus making it much more difficult to heal. And this is why chronic illness or injury is often so difficult to heal. The longer it goes on, the more it tends to be incorporated and entrenched into a person's identity. Now, I'm not suggesting that this means, oh, you don't have to go to any healthcare practitioners. No, that's not what I'm saying. First of all, if you go to a healthcare practitioner and you start making the shift, it's only going to enhance whatever they're doing to help you. But this is something much bigger. This is something that we all need to evolve into in more and more powerful ways. Now, there's something else important that John wants us to know. He says not to make the mistake of thinking this problem of identifying yourself as the body, not to think that it can just be fixed by switching to a new belief. It's not probably going to suffice to just finish watching this video and then say, okay, now I believe that I am my true self and not my body. He said it needs to go much, much deeper than merely staying at the level of a new belief. He said it needs to be experienced in order to manifest. And this is going to take some work on our part because we're trying to turn something around that has been reinforced in our experience for centuries, actually millenniums. Now, he had a really cool idea. He said you can actually start this process by using your imagination. Imagine how different your life would be if you lived from the radiant truth of your true self expressing through the medium of your physical body. He said if you want to be really serious about making this transition, then take some time every day to just play around with experiencing this idea. Imagine your physical body yielding to the full presence of who you really are. What would that feel like? How would it affect your energy, your cells, and your very vibration? He said that your attempt to imagine this will start to put you in touch with the actual reality of that truth. And he also said, don't try to force it. He said, just work with yourself and work with your own relationship with your body. Take baby steps every single day. Just make a little bit of progress at a time. Eventually, something will start to take hold and you'll begin to feel your energy coming back. And that's when you'll start to feel momentum. John said this is a much better use of your energy than tracking with the controller's obsession with fear. He said, let the controllers play out their drama while you do something extremely powerful for yourself that has nothing to do with what he called their theater of the absurd. And I think that's a really good name for what they have going on. He said that our part in this situation is to evolve ourselves. And then he said something very interesting. He said, as for the controllers, their unique situation, meaning them personally, if you can call it that, He said, that's not our problem. He said, there are forces constantly at work to evolve this universe. Now, I didn't at all think he was talking about like we shouldn't respond to what they're doing here on Earth. That's not what he was talking about. He was actually talking about they themselves as entities. He wasn't talking about the stuff they're doing, how it affects us and how we need to respond. Putting all of that aside, he was specifically talking about them specifically as entities. He said that is a whole other situation that should be left to the forces who are equipped to deal with it. And he wanted me to tell you that what he's talking about will not be a military operation, because that would only be more of the same in a more expanded venue. He said those entities by themselves are genuinely not our problem, and that we should focus on what we can do, which is to evolve ourselves. The most important thing that we need to do is to remove the vulnerability that got us into this situation in the first place. That is first and foremost. See, Telstar and Archangel Michael are always coming from the big picture of helping us to align ourselves with the most powerful evolution of this entire natural universe. That's what we need to be doing right now. That is so important. And I think as far as how do we actually respond as human beings to what the controllers are doing on the planet that directly involves all of us, I think regarding that, I really think I like the way John has prioritized things, because he's asking us to prioritize our own level of power. He's asking us to increase our power, to get realigned with who we really are, to address what has gotten us in this mess in the first place. In other words, address the vulnerability. Because, I don't see how we're going to make any headway unless we make sure that we are evolving ourselves as a centerpiece of our own experience. So we can be doing all of this at the same time. We can each be responding to the physical circumstances however each one of us feels inspired or guided to respond. But we also need to be doing this. We really need to be evolving ourselves as quickly as possible. This is very serious. We're running out of time with this whole timeline split. And next week, I'm going to be doing a couple more videos that we're going to talk about that directly, because the timeline split is suddenly becoming visible. And I want to talk to you about that in one of next week's videos. And I've tried to set the stage with this 2-part series this week because I want you to be crystal clear about all of this information in order to be able to position yourself with what I'm going to share with you next week and be able to really have the strength and the centeredness and the consciousness that you're going to need to be dealing with that timeline split, which is literally almost in our face. So my sense of what John is sharing and what Telstar shares a lot and what Archangel Michael shares with us is they're really extending a cosmic hand to us, and they're saying, hey, come this way. You don't have to fall into the trap. You can actually evolve out of this. It's kind of like, I see them as being kind of like a lighthouse, a lighthouse in the storm. And it's such a beautiful lighthouse, because they're just not a part of any of this insanity, which is so wonderful. I feel like they're saying, like, come this way, come this way. This is where you need to go to get out of this mess. So at any rate, I hope you have found this video helpful. I hope you've enjoyed hearing this information being more elaborated on by myself and by the messages that John has had to share with you. I hope it's giving you a real sense of clarity and centeredness and even inspiration. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you feel would like to have this powerful tip to their own empowerment. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am currently here every Tuesday and Friday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy, and I so look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.